This is a conspiracy channel. Tape 1.
Welcome to the Hush channel. The Ark of Gabriel is an ark, not the Ark of the Covenant mentioned in the Bible, but a device that could completely wipe out people when proper protocol is not followed and when this protocol is not carried out by the correct person or persons. A device that, just like the Ark of the Covenant, could be thought of as a weapon of mass destruction. This ark, of course, is named after the angel Gabriel. While 9/11 is a huge reminder of one of the most tragic events to ever occur in modern history, especially on American soil, 14 years after the American 2001 crisis, another crisis would occur. But this would not be the result of human warfare and chaos. Instead, this would be caused by a device of biblical sound. On September 11, 2015, 15 men were a part of a construction project to expand Mecca due to the growing influx of pilgrims coming to pray at the Grand Mosque. The structure has had to continually expand just to keep up, so a 15-person crew was digging tunnels around Mecca. On this particular day was when they stumbled upon the Ark of Gabriel, and of course, they had not heard of it, and so they did not know exactly what it was that they was running into, and they attempted to remove it as they would any other thing, except they were instantly killed by a massive plasma emission so powerful that it ejected from the ground, toppling over a construction crane. This incident is officially documented as the Mecca crane collapse, and it has been cited as the deadliest crane collapse in history, leaving 111 people dead and 294 people injured. DW News cited that in August of 2016, Saudi Gazette reported the trial of 14 individuals, adding that prosecutors did not file charges against 42 others who were under investigation, including 16 members of the Bin Laden family. Victims of the accident were of 12 different nationalities, but the greatest contingents of deaths being 25 Bangladeshis and 23 Egyptians. Of the injured, the most represented nationalities were 51 Pakistanis and 42 Indonesians. Recently, in July of 2022, Saudi Arabia has called for a retrial of the incident as the crane operators, installers, and inspectors on site that were indicted had their rulings reversed by a judicial decision. They face no consequence. To cover up this incident, the spokesman for the presidency of the Grand Mosque and the proper mosque stated that these people died from a strong sandstorm, winds, and severe rain. 12 days later, after the Mecca crane collapsed on September 24th, still with no clue as to what they were dealing with, matters only got worse as another attempt was made to move the mysterious object we now know is the Ark of Gabriel. This time, it was 3 days into Hajj, which is the Muslim pilgrimage to Mecca that takes place in the last month of the year. It is a ceremony that all Muslims are expected to make at least once in their lifetime. In 2015, Hajj began on the evening of Monday, September 21st, and ended the evening of Saturday, September 26th. Millions of people from across the world had gathered to worship in Mecca, meaning this attempt to remove the Ark could not have been at a worse time. Over 2,400 estimated worshippers were slaughtered by the plasma emission from the Ark of Gabriel's attempt of removal. And this time, the cover-up story was that a stampede of people trampled those 2,400 plus people to death. The people who supposedly trampled all those people to death, of course, their origins were never released, neither was there any footage. Zero information on the motives of a mass of people large enough to do such a thing. There was no images or any information on even one of them. And Mecca is not a very accessible place. Not just anybody can come in and out of there as they please. There are entry requirements, suspicious to say the least. However, since Mecca is a sacred site, it is plausible that they handled matters internally. This is what CBC News had to say on the incidents.
Horror on this holy day for Muslims. A stampede as the faithful celebrated Eid al-Adha. The streets filled up with bodies. The victims wore the simple white robes common during the annual Hajj pilgrimage. This woman from Egypt says pilgrims pushed each other to the ground. I thought I was going to die, she says. Her husband did. The Hajj is the largest annual gathering on the planet. Some 2 million people are in Saudi Arabia this year. The stampede this morning happened when one group of worshippers heading to a prayer site ran into another group coming from the other direction. Saudi Arabia's health minister says some pilgrims failed to follow the rules. He added that it was the will of God. This year's Hajj was already marred when a crane collapsed at Mecca's Grand Mosque earlier this month, killing more than 100 people. Saudi Arabia prides itself on hosting the millions of pilgrims who visit Mecca and Medina each year, but it struggled to keep them safe. This is the 9th deadly incident at the Hajj in the last 25 years. The kingdom has made a number of recent improvements to safety and infrastructure.
We have millions of people together in the very same space.
Measures this Toronto imam has seen for himself.
But it was shocking that this morning we heard of the stampede, especially after some of the enhancements they recently made in the infrastructure where the pilgrims generally move to.
Iran, Saudi Arabia's regional rival, blamed the catastrophe on mismanagement by kingdom officials. The Saudi king Salman visited the site today. He promised a full review of how the Hajj is organized in order to reassure the millions of nervous pilgrims after today's tragedy. Derek Stoffel, CBC News, Jerusalem.
When Catholic Pope Francis met with the head of the Russian Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill, eyebrows rose. You see, given the history, these two figures and the groups they represent has had a long, tumultuous history with one another. In December of 2015, Russian ships were found docking at the Jeddah, which is one of Saudi Arabia's main ports. Of all people to meet, what would bring these two religious figures together after almost 1,000 years of dissension? Look at the Crusades. This is dumb. Of course, this union had to be something bigger than a bloody history between the two groups, and rumors began speculating that this union was an effort to move the Ark of Gabriel from the Grand Mosque in Mecca to a secret base in Antarctica where it could safely be kept. The Holy Wars, also known as the Crusades, were religious wars started primarily between Christians and Muslims to gain control of holy sites and lands considered sacred by both groups. These wars spanned from 1095 AD to 1291 AD. The Catholics considered themselves Christians, so the two groups were unanimous in their efforts. One band, one sound. The tension occurs when the Roman Catholics wanted the Eastern Orthodox to join them, but the Eastern Orthodox viewed the Crusaders as oath breakers and liars and hypocrites because of their involvement in such a horrendous, bloody, and secular war. So of course, this posed a problem when the Roman Catholic Church and its empire asked the Eastern Orthodoxy to be their vassal and have their clergy join the Patriarch of Jerusalem and Antioch, basically asking the Eastern Orthodoxy to surrender all their power to the Roman Empire, which was already humongous. The Eastern Orthodox Christians are those that lived in Southeast and Eastern Europe, Cyprus, Georgia, various parts of the Caucasus region, Siberia, and the Russian Far East. The Russian branch holds the majority of the Eastern Orthodox churches in the East. When the Eastern Orthodoxy refused, the Catholic Church ransacked the Eastern Orthodox. During the Holy Wars, it was custom for soldiers to destroy and burn libraries, steal religious texts, and even burn them. Lots of history, especially religious history, was lost during these wars, and some were even hidden away to seal certain truths from the next generations, since the agenda of the Romans was to convert people forcibly using religion as the scapegoat. And a lot of these religious texts in the libraries destroyed contained information that contradicted the story that they were painting. The narratives the Romans painted for Christianity were put together by the Roman Catholic Church. Collectively, these stories are canonized and called the Bible. So when the Roman Catholic Crusaders pillaged Constantinople, Turkey, in the year 1204 AD, amongst the religious texts being protected by the Russian Orthodox Church was a manuscript entitled Gabriel's Instruction to Muhammad, which is a set of instructions given to the Prophet Muhammad by Gabriel in a cave called Hira, which is located in the mountain Jabal an-Nur, a mountain near Mecca in Saudi Arabia. Inside Mecca is where Gabriel entrusted to the Prophet Muhammad an ark of immense power that was forbidden from use because the ark itself belongs to God. Muhammad was thus instructed to place the ark in a shrine at the place of worship that the angels used before the creation of mankind. It was to remain there until the day of resurrection. The Roman Catholic Crusaders did not get their hands on this manuscript during the invasion. This is why the Patriarch of the Eastern Orthodox Church and the Catholic Pope were meeting. They needed this manuscript to properly handle and remove this ark. The properties of the Ark of Gabriel are alien in nature and not unheard of in the religious realm of things. I always laugh to myself whenever reading biblical texts at how so many alien occurrences are placed within religious texts. But due to dogmatic and social programming, it never comes to mind unless you are one of the few people who find your way deep into this rabbit hole. Again, In the Bible, when the people of Beth Shemesh, Israel, simply looked at the Ark of the Covenant, 50,070 of them were killed instantly. Now, there were rumors also circulating the internet that only Putin has been able to physically touch the Ark of Gabriel. I myself have not found any articles pertaining to this. Maybe they were removed. I am not sure. But I do find it funny if it is true, because then it seems like there might be a motive for American media to pit Putin as evil. I am by no means saying that the man is a saint. Let's not get that twisted. But certainly there is more than meets the eye, especially when you factor in how apprehensive the supposed world villain Putin is to the seemingly harmless sweet old lady we call Queen Elizabeth of the UK, who is rumored to be a reptilian and whose son has publicly spoken about his Transylvanian Count Dracula vampiric roots, and how the English law states that the Queen can take any of her subjects' children without cause at any time, and said subject can do absolutely nothing about it. It sounds a lot like Pizzagate and some adrenochrome conspiracy of elites drinking children's blood to stay youthful, and would allude to how the royal family lives so long. But maybe they never really even died, rather switch bodies or go into a coffin to be reawakened hundreds of years later while their body reverts back to its youthful state, only to reappear in the world in the latter era where nobody would notice them. And maybe while they are in this coffin, they are being fed through tubes the blood of young kids. And maybe not all the children that are taken from their parents' home are blood sucked. Maybe they use the babies to pose as the newborns of their family. And at some point within these kids' teenage years, they swap them out for the real thing that is coming out of the coffin. And then they're blood sucked. Putin's case may be a scenario just like with the Bible, whereas the further you dig into older texts, all of them point to the Christian God actually originally being named Satan, which was a term that the Sumerians literally coined after him, which means the great administrator. Meanwhile, the serpent was the hero of mankind, the intermediary between the Anunnaki and humans, the master geneticist that created mankind for his brother, who is now called biblical Yahweh. Ironically, the name Yahweh actually belonged to the serpent first. The serpent humanoid. He was a reptilian. Mankind manipulated the truth out of self-preservation, out of fear of extinction. After seeing what happened with Noah's flood, I guess I wouldn't want to get on his bad side either. Now, this would be the end, except this story of the Ark of Gabriel is just the tip of the iceberg. It is just the anecdote of a richer webbed understory, which is the story of Gabriel. Let's take a deep dive into an angel's past.
End of tape 1.